Man.
Yeah.
All right. And we're back. So wait for some people to get in here. We want to circle back in. And we'll be jumping right in.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, piece of paper.
Paper?
Where's your cleaning cloth? Where you
Let it
clean?
want it? You need it?
Is it up here or don't?
I'll get it.
No. I just want people to try to clean it. It would be better if I okay, at home.
Get out of here. I get one of those.
Because I want to clean the lens on there. Yeah, but it's so small. So if I could get like a Q-tip. Yeah. Because it's it yeah. All right.
Merci.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.
Beaucoup?
I think
Well, who? Not me.
It's got dirt trap inside.
no, I can just see that the lens needs to clean. It's a small lens. You see,
Mhm.
look, here's the
Yeah.
round and the lens is in between, but you don't want to have a dreamy look. You know, I don't need filters to look, you know. It came from above. So. All right, there we go. It should be more clear now.
We'll jump right in. So once again, peace and blessings. Happy Sabbath to everybody. Hope y'all enjoyed it. As we're brought forward here once again. It's the Destin Community Church of Christ. I am Archbishop Shamar.
Bishop Ara.
All right, and we'll
Almost said the back.
we'll be bringing you the Sabbath report. All right. So we bring you the Sabbath report this week. Last week we went into fire being used for germination and different types of seeds that need fire for that. And we went into, understanding that the coniferous forests, the Most High has here is a representation of us, all right, and that they needed fire. It needs fire in order to germinate, all right. And when it's time for it to develop, every other society around it goes down, all right. And because of that, they came out with what's called wildfire suppression, where they go and they try to, calm down the wildfires, and wildfires are going everywhere. And people don't really understand the significance of this and why it happens and the phenomenon. But looking into it and going into the scriptures, we see what the phenomenon was, where it was that these wildfires represent us. These pines and these things need these things to grow, to develop, to get better, to germinate, for it to spread its seeds. And that when these fires happen, it's for the benefits of those things. And when it's for the benefit of that, it's to the disarray of everything else. And that's what the kingdom's going to be like. When it's time for us to develop and go, everybody else going to be like, because it's time to burn. They're going down while we're developing. All right. So we got that understanding last week. And we seen that where the Most High placed a lot of these coniferous forests is in California, where this stuff was happening.
Stuff from we have 2 schools going that same night right now. I'm not sure why. don't know. I don't know. I just saying okay, I just continue.
All right, so we've seen that the Most High placed a lot of the coniferous forests on this side of the world. They're located around the California region and things of that nature. And this is what started the whole Cali fires and California blaze and all of that happened. And people saying, oh, it looks like the end of the world. And that understanding, seeing all of that, we went into it, looked, and we seen that, hey, it is like the end of the world. And we got the inner details of law, nature, and everything to understand it. All right. This week, we'll stay on, topic with forests and fires and this. We'll be switching to a different, narrative with that. We'll be going to the pandemic now, all right? And we're going to be touching a topic dealing with herbal smoke and the pandemic. All right, so that's what we're going to be going into this week. All right, and this is pandemic diseases, all right? Fumigation / incense smoke as a disinfectant, all right? So what we're gonna do, and what we found is, we've been promoting incense for a long time. When we were touching incense, we're not telling people incense, the herbs, it's good, the smoke is this. The information was all spiritual at that time, okay? It was no direct, we're telling people the smoke is not bad, they're lying to you, they're this. It took a lot of people, because we're coming from the Hebrew Israelite way and understanding that smoke is evil. When you come this way, you can't bring smoke and the Most High together, you can't do the same things. You know what I mean? And we've been telling people, and as a church, we've been promoting incense worship, all right? And we came out with many lessons dealing with incense worship, fumigation, all of those things, showing that the Most High used it for the temple, that cleanses the temple, that does all of that. Now we're in a pandemic, all right? We're in a pandemic, and we're seeing that they're coming out with many ways to, I guess you could sanctify or cleanse a place, all right? And a lot of it is with the sanitizers and things of that nature. And they're going away from, what we've been seeing in the scriptures, which is herbal smoke. This is what the fumigation, this is what the Most High was given back in the days. All right. We have to understand how the world was operated back then. All right. Everyone was unclean. The Most High chose Israel as a nation to show them cleanliness, because they didn't have the laws of nature. The Most High taught man the laws of nature through Israel and all of that. So everybody else has animalistic natures. That's when you go outside of Christianity into these other countries, the cleanliness is not there. All right, you can go to India, you can go to all those places. They're just learning how to use the bathrooms and clean up those stuff properly. All right, the Most High taught Israel cleanliness. When you go into the Bible and you see the citrin and the nitrin and the soap, and this is the Most High teaching people, you have to wash, you have to this. In the evening, you wake up, you bathe. This, you go do this. You have to teach them this. When you're around me, you don't just pee and leave everything all the way. You dig a hole, you do this, you do that. Now, when it comes to people being outside, remember, you're outside all day. People are outside all day doing all of this. The Most High showed them a way in the morning how to clean the temple, diseases, all of these things it's never been, it's always has been here. So the Most High had to show them, because then was dirtier than now, okay? That this is how you clean a place, all right? So we're going to go into the scriptures and heart down on that and show you the historical data that incense, even in recent times, all right, has always been known as a disinfectant and been used during times of pandemic. All right. And we're not seeing anybody speaking about incense. We were at a restaurant the other day. They said they had to leave the window open for enough circulation of air because of the, all the disease and stuff going on. They understand the true understanding of disease and what kills it and gets rid of it. All they have to do is burn some herbs and things of that nature, but people don't have the understanding. All right. And that's why we're going to have to go, and hopefully maybe the Most High will lead them this way if they start to seek or search, and they can get that understanding on incense and herbs, which we call fumigation. All right. So that's just a little going up to it. So we're going to go to Isaiah 53:1.
This is the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 1. Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?
All right. So who's going to believe the report? All right? And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? All right. Going back, we always go to the scriptures because back then, even when Isaiah was saying this, who would believe their report, knowing how the Most High operated? He chose one person who would deal with the word of the Lord, who had confirmation, seeing the word of the Lord right there for him. He told him that, and then he would have to go tell the other people that, and they would have to believe. So there's at some point we have to deal with belief. That's what God has done. You're not going to get everything understood one time. All right. You're going to have to believe something. And that's why he says, who's going to believe the report? Who's going to believe the prophets? You got to look at what they're bringing out, all the stuff they're bringing out, and be like, yo, what? The truth is coming from here. I can put my faith in it. All right. And that's what it's saying. Who's going to believe our report? Who is the arm of the Most High revealed? So who's going to believe this report? All right. Because there's many reports every day on the news, not on the news, well, on the news too, on commercials, on this. Smoking is this, smoking is that for you. Smoking. And it's a thing because they're not going into what smoke are you speaking about. All right. And that's what we're going to get into. All right. So we're at Isaiah 5:20.
All right, this is the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 5, starting at the 20th verse. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight.
All right. So the scripture is given a woe, 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 woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. And this is what's going on in the world. All right. We're living in a world where if you don't deal with the scriptures and understand the scriptures in its spiritual nature, all right, then you're going to end up calling evil good and good evil. All right. And you're going to end up calling light darkness and darkness light, as we see in this world. 12 a.m., new day is coming. Okay. When it's nighttime, it's midnight and it's a new day. All right. This is the confusion that's coming up. All right. Where we're not putting the difference between things. And what happens in the physical happens in the spiritual. So once now we're mixing good and bad together, that's going to happen with our nature. Now everyone's mixing in, good nature or bad. They can't differentiate what's light and what's darkness because you're mixing up the two because you're calling a new day at midnight. Okay. Your consciousness just from doing that is affecting your whole spirituality. Or you're saying, you know what, forget the midnight one. It starts when the sun goes down. And now it's a new day.
You wake up in the morning, wake for the dead.
All right.
Morning for the dead.
Okay.
Symbolize life.
All right. So you wake up in the morning. All right. You're and that's why a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't be awake or wake up. But it makes sense because you're just slurry. You're just unconscious. Right. Now you're awake. All right. And morning too, because you're still here. You're not in the kingdom yet. All right. But this is what's been going on. All right. People are putting darkness for light and light for darkness. And in incense, herbal smoke, weed smoke, where people want to call it, they put a bad connotation on it with the word weed. Weed, because if you say herbs now, people are like, oh, are you talking about cannabis? They don't even know. They don't even look at cannabis as a herb. All right. You got to say weed for them to know a thing. And what a weed has never been known to be good. So this is all, consciously works of the conscious mind to put an evil connotation on something. And that's what they would do now to make you like something too. So now instead of calling it flesh, guess what? Meat. Okay. Switch it up now. Okay. Meat means food in Old English. All right. So they use reverse psychology. They use it when they want to, and they reverse it when they want to. All right. So to get you to eat flesh, you know what? Put the better word on it. Switch meat. All right. They get you to hate the herbs, call it the weed. All right. This is what they do. All right. To the mind. All right. So we're at Sirach 38:4.
All right. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 38, verse 4. The Lord had created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them.
All right. So the Most High has created medicines out of the earth. All right. And he that is wise, it says, would not abhor them, would not hate them. All right. So wise people will understand that we're not to hate the medicines that the Most High created out of the earth. All right. We're going to go to 1 Thessalonians 5:21.
All right. This is the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, starting at the 21st verse. Prove all things, hold fast to that which is good, abstain from all appearance of evil, and the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And I pray God, your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ.
All right. So it says, prove all things. All right. So we are to prove. When someone says something, we got to prove this. When somebody says something to me, a lot of time they say something, I'm like, where's the proof? Where is the this? And, you know, you got a little piece, but did you go into it and want to prove that? You don't really want the truth. You get what I'm saying? Scripture says, prove all things. Go into it. Someone saying something, let's go and break it down as much times as we can to get the truth and hold fast to that which is true. All right. Abstain from all appearance of evil. And the very God of peace will sanctify. And we're going to see that that's what's going to happen here. We prove all things. We're going to hold fast to that which is true. And we're abstaining from all appearance of evil. And by doing that, the God of peace is bringing us and sanctifying us holy, which we're getting a sanctification we're not seeing anybody else get and understand. So he shows us that he's dealing with us, because what we're about to go into and bring out in, you know, times right now, in these times, we're not seeing anybody come to the forefront and stand up for these things. All right. Herbal smoke and defend it and bring out the facts and bring it around to the Bible and connect everything. People are separated and, you know, defend it here, but they're not wrapping it around and bringing it full circle like we're about to do. All right. So we're going to go into the definition of proof.
All right. This is a definition for proof. This is G 1381, G 1381. Domicazo from G 1384, to test, literally or figuratively, by implication, to approve, allow, discern, examine, like, approve, try.
All right. It says to test, prove. All right. Prove, test out. All right. To test, to prove, to exert, to discern, to examine. All right. Examine all these things. Test out all these things. Go through tests. Sometimes I'm like, okay, so herbs is bad. What test did you get? Where'd you get the test from? Where's the test? What herb did they test out? Let me see the result. Nothing. There's nothing. Just herbs is bad for you. And then there's the only one infomercial. You know what the one they always give you the test results of? The cigarettes. And that's the one they base all the other ones off. All right. But they don't test out any other herbs. All right. So if someone's going to tell me herbal smoke's bad, I want to see the test results that say that. That said that you tested out the herb, you did it in the air, you checked out how much germs was there, and just then read back give us the test results. All right. And you're going to see that they don't do that. All right. They don't test out herbs. And we're going to go show you actual herb testings. All right.
It's some version of all of the disinfectant that they have out there have an alcohol inside of every single one of them. There's no herb inside of alcohol, like this.
That's a good thing, because, you know, even when we go to the thing, even when I'm looking at the Old Testament, you know, maybe we can see it in there after. Maybe there's a physical spirit representation of the alcohol while they're using that or whatever. But when looking at the Old Testament, we're not seeing the Most High tell us to use alcohol and those things as disinfectants, as this, as that. He brought Israel and showed them a certain way.
And right, when he did bring up alcohol, is when you're ready to die, strong drink.
Yeah.
Right.
You're ready to
Right.
die.
A little wine for
Right.
infirmities, but
Correct. And here we had Brother Red say that the Jewish people taught people the sundown to sundown ideology, and we know they follow the moon, but we are to follow the sun. Correct. All right. So most people are dealing with the moon and following the moon, which is following darkness. But we deal with following the sun and understanding that. So that's correct. We're gonna go into. All right. We're gonna go to the book of Adam and Eve. All right. And we're gonna go back to the fall of Adam. All right. So after he fell, we always go to this. So we have this even in our incense prayer. All right. That Adam asked for a particular thing when he was outside of the garden. All right. Because he was outside of the garden, seen the garden. He's seen all that was in the garden, all the things. He was told the one thing he couldn't touch. And now he's outside of it. And now he makes a request of some things that he's seen inside of there that he would like outside of it. All right. So we're going to go revisit that.
All right, this is the book of Adam and Eve, chapter 29. This spake the Lord and ordered us to be cast out of paradise. But your father Adam wept before the angels opposite paradise. And the angels said to him, what wouldest thou have us to do, Adam? And your father said to him, behold, ye cast me out, I pray you, allow me to take away fragrant herbs from paradise, so that I may offer an offering to God after I have gone out of paradise, that he hear me.
All right. So he's outside of paradise. All right. So after your father Adam wept before the angels, opposite of paradise. So he's on the opposite of paradise. All right. Adam asked them and said, you cast me out. All right. I pray you to allow me to take away fragrant herbs from paradise. All right. So we're paying attention that Adam is asking specifically. He's seen all the fruits. He's seen all of that. He's like, forget the food and stuff. Give me the herbs. Okay. Give me the fragrant herbs that I didn't see inside of the garden. All right. So that I can offer to God an offering. So he wants it for good here. All right. Continue.
And the angels approached God and said, Jael, eternal king, command my Lord that there be given to Adam incense of sweet odor from paradise and seeds for his food. And God bade Adam go in and take sweet spices and fragrant herbs from paradise and seeds for his good.
All right. So here we see, all right, they commanded that there be given to Adam incense of sweet odor. All right. To take spices and fragrant herbs from paradise. So he took fragrant herbs, spices, the incense, and seeds. All right. He needs seeds for replenishing. All right. Continue.
And the angels let him go, and he took 4 kinds.
All right. So he took 4 kinds. Not only say he took 4 kinds, but they're honing down on these 4 specific types. All right. Continue.
Crocus and nard and calamus and cinnamon and the other seeds for his food. And after taking these, he went out of paradise and were on the earth.
All right. So we have the angels go and he took 4 kinds. All right. The crocus. Maybe find the definition of the crocus and nard first. All right. You took the crocus and nard and calamus and cinnamon. I want you to take note that it says, and then other seeds for his food. So that right there wasn't food. All right. That's not for food. These are for other particular things. He took other herbs and things for food, but they didn't tell you what herbs and things they were. They gave you the 4 important ones. All right. Because that's just food. There's plenty of food out here. You go. He's honing in on the herb that he used for incense. All right. And he gave you what it was, calamus. And we're going to go and take in this word calamus in a little bit. All right. But we see that Adam was given another specific type of herb that was separated from herb seeds for his food and stuff like that. All right. This was given for a different purpose. Not to say it can't be food or whatever, but those are particularly food. This is used as something else. And that's why sometimes you see people like, why can't you roll up the lettuce? Okay.
It's not a herb.
Well, it's a herb and stuff, but we see God gave Adam seeds for food and stuff, and other herb wasn't given for food. Okay, it was given for incense. But then man, when they want to be smart, they go into, so you want to do all of that with the herbs. Why don't you roll up the incense then, brother? Why don't you roll up the lettuce then, brother? Why don't you roll up the cabbage then, brother? Why you gotta be this one particular type? Why you gotta be this one type? All right. But they're not looking at law of nature. They're the most like, THC, cannabinoids, receptors. We have that inside. They're not looking at law of nature. They're just like, why do the other ones have that? If they had some connection for the mind, body, spirit, something, I'm pretty sure people would. But there is zero. It's just food connection through those. All right. But this is carnal man seeing things through his carnal eyes and not spiritual understanding, law of nature, science. All right. So we're going to go.
Let me get.
Yeah.
All right, this is for the crocus. Because Crocus sativus, this is, by the way, so Wikipedia, commonly known as saffron crocus or autumn crocus, is a species of flowering plant of the crocus genus in the iris family Eridicrae. It is best known for producing the spice saffron from the filaments that grow inside the flower.
All right, so it's known for producing saffron, that saffron flower. All right. And these are interesting. So I'll go back and really look at why the Most High chose these specific herbs. Saffron, one of them. All right. And now the nard.
Saffron more expensive than gold per like gram.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
One of the most expensive crops in the world.
Mm.
Okay, this is a nard, a spikenard, also called nard, nardin, and muskroot, is a class of aromatic amber-colored essential oil derived from, this is a scientific name here, a flowering plant of the valerian family, which grows in the Himalayas of Nepal, China, and India. The oil has been used over centuries as a perfume, a traditional medicine, or in religious ceremonies across a wide territory from India to Europe.
All right. So I guess what I'm seeing here too, because a lot of time people just look at that stuff. What I'm seeing here is different types. So we have saffron. Saffron, was that a flower?
Yeah.
More type, and then we got an essential oil here. So that's what that other one would be, a type of essential oil. And then we have now one for more so smoking now. All right. Then we're gonna go into that one, Calamus now. So we're seeing a different type. We have regular one because a lot of people use just regular flowers for different herbal things. A lot of people use them for, especially in the room and stuff, the essential oil. Okay, that you deal with the inside of the rooms with. That's a temple as well. All right, and then we have the herb now. All right, a different herb, the marijuana, the incense, the cannabis, the whatever you want to call it. All right, and then he goes, and then we see the cinnamon there.
I was going to ask you about that.
I heard people use different cinnamon for different type of things, and not just burn it, do all different types of stuff, but not just for spice.
Well, saffron is expensive too. That's like one of the most expensive spices in the world. So,
all right, so we're seeing that he's bringing 4 kinds. Particularly, he's showing us 4 different ways that you can, deal with these things. All right, by bringing us these examples. So when we really look at this, we're really seeing 4 different types. We're seeing a flower, a herb. We're seeing an essential oil. We're seeing cannabis used as, an incense people take all the time. Then we're seeing a spice, more like, thing. People use frankincense, different things. You get what I'm saying? So we're seeing those 4 types there. All right, and he took those out. And he took other seeds for his food. All right, so he had seeds that, he separated that. And these seeds were for food. You have to remember about translation and stuff as well. So really, they're showing us that there's 4 types. And this is the kinds that he was using the herbs for. And then other seeds was just regular, just for food. Like that's what you just use for food. All right. And now they're on the earth now. And he said, then we went out and it's on the earth. All right. So what we're taking from this is that there's 2 kinds of herbs, fragrant herbs for incense, and herbs for food. All right. Now, some herbs can be used as food as thing, but other herbs are specifically just used as food. They're not used as incense, nothing like that. You're not going to use lettuce and say, yo, this is incense, purification. You know what I mean? You're not going to do that. All right. And there's 4 types, all right, which we went into: the flower, the oil, the cannabis. That's what we're going to show in a second, that they call calamus, and the cinnamon. All right, and also that, take note that herbs was used for worship, all right, and eating only at this time. All right, so that's what herb was used for at this time. All right, so we're gonna go into calamus. All right, so we went into this before. So before we go into the new information, we just gotta go bring this back to the understanding. All right, what calamus is, what the different types of things the Most High is bringing out to, and then we're gonna go now full on into the info, connecting all of this together. All right, so we're going to go to what is calamus? What is this calamus that Adam asked for outside of the garden? The calamus that's in Exodus 20 and 23 in the holy anointing oil. All right, what is this calamus in Hebrew and in the original translations? All right, and is this injections? Is this? All right, and we're going to go into that etymology by someone who looked into that. All right, by the name of Sarah Benatoa.
What is calamus? Cannabis versus calamus. Debate over the translation of cannabism. Sarah Benatoa discovered that the cannabism or cannabis is mentioned 5 times in the Old Testament. The first occurrence appears in the holy anointing oil as calamus, Exodus chapter 30, verse 23. Sarah argued that the translation of calamus was a mistranslation which occurred in the oldest Bible, the Septuagint, and the mistranslation was copied in later versions.
All right, so she showed Sarah Benatona, who was, discovered that cannabism or cannabis is mentioned 5 times in the Old Testament. First occurrence happening in the holy anointing oil And she said that mistranslation came in as they called it Calamus. All right. And she said that that came in through the Septuagint, which is a Greek Bible. All right. It came in through there. And then later, the continuous mistranslation has been copied in later versions. All right. Continue.
If you actually buy the Calamus translation for the holy oil, then you can assume that God specified in Exodus chapter 30, verse 23, a drug commonly known as herbal ecstasy. Calamus contains an ingredient called acerone.
All right. So it says if you actually buy the Calamus translation for the holy ointment oil, then you're saying something worse than marijuana now. You're talking about herbal ecstasy now. So which one you say the cannabis is bad to be there, or you say the herbal ecstasy? Which one? You some ecstasy, or is it cannabis? Which one of the I was talking about? All right.
Cinnamon is also used in it,
Mhm.
in the mixture that we were doing.
Yes, and cinnamon used inside the holy anointed oil as well. All right, with some other ingredients. All right, but the main ingredient in there to bring it together is the calamus. All right, which they mistranslate, which they're gonna show that it cannot be because it has effects of ecstasy and things of that nature. All right, no spiritual connotation to it or anything like that. All right, continue first.
This is an hallucinogen which is metabolized in the liver as trimethyloxymethaphine, which is known as a herbal ecstasy. The Middle Eastern version of this plant is far more toxic than its North American cousin. This is deadly to flies and other insects. The Exodus 30, verse 23 reference refers to sweet calamus. If you look at this in the Strong's Concordance, where they spell this as quana rather than kana, they pronounce it as kana, a reed, calamus, and cane are listed as possible translations. The term sweet used in Exodus 30:23 in Hebrew is basam.
All right, so they're showing you that kana, all right, is a reed, all right, and cane is listed as possible translation, and the term sweet used in the text is known as basam. All right, so that's how they have the kana basam. All right, so sweet Aramaic reed, or sweet sweet Aramaic reed. All right, continue.
According to the Webster's New World Hebrew Dictionary, balsam is perfume, scent. The concordance, the Hebrew is balsam, number 1314. Fragrance, by implication, spicery, also the balsam plant. Smell, spice, sweet odor. In some Bibles, sweet calamus is translated as aromatic or fragrant cane. It is where the balsam is fused to the word kana or kana that the cannabis translation becomes apparent. So then to pronounce this, we have kana balsam, which as in English, sorry, let me read that again, and is spelled in English cannabasm or cannabasm. In 1936, Sarah Benetoa, later known as Sula Bennett, an etymologist from the Institution of Anthropological Sciences in Warsaw, wrote a treatise, quote, tracing one word through different languages, unquote. This was a study on the word cannabis based on a study of the oldest Hebrew text. Although the word cannabis was thought to be of Scythian origin, Bennett's research showed it had an earlier root in the Semitic languages, such as Hebrew. Bennett demonstrated that the ancient Hebrew word for cannabis is cannabasm.
All right, so just want to make note. This is 1936. This is before people just want to smoke weed and just chill. This is before all of that. This is just before the TVs is giving you all this stuff and all of that. This is a woman who's just doing research. 1936, coming out with this stuff. All right, there's no young youths out here. There's no rappers out here influencing the people with the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I just don't want to get high.
Yeah.
Wasn't out yet.
Yes, that stuff's not there. Okay, that, and she's coming out with, you know what? There's things wrong here. She's an etymologist. She's wrote things on. She's showing that this word doesn't trace back to calamus. It traces back to cannabasm, which that's the correct word in the Hebrew. And this word traces back to cannabis. And it's an error that was made. All right. This is 1936. And this is what she's been known for, all right? Sarah Benatoa, all right?
Tracing one word through different languages.
All right, she's known as an etymologist, and she was dealing with this word. Because if you're an etymologist or someone that chases those things, you're going to be like, where did that come from? Because now when I'm looking at words, I'm like, okay, where does this word come from? Use this word. What word is this? Now, Calamus, what does it mean? You're going to say a word, you have to know what it means. All right, that's why you have to know everything that you're saying. What is it meaning? If you find a word that you're like, oh, I don't know what that means, go look into it. You'd be surprised in the details when you really look at it. Some of these words we haven't looked at in 15, 20 years when we're in school. We're just going off of, indoctrinated pride in us that we know this word. All right, I know this word because I taught this at a young age. When's the last time you looked at the word, studied the word, scanned the word, could tell me a couple synonyms of the word? You don't know. You don't really know the word.
Because everybody's nice.
Yeah, everyone's nice. Yeah. All right, so go into the etymology. So she's an etymologist, and she's like, maybe, this word cannabis came across. And she's like, for real, where did this word come from? Who's using this word? What languages came from? You need to know, like, words always trace back. How can we have a word that's being used on this thing for so long, and we don't have no word origin? We don't have where the word's coming from. What's the breakdown of it? Nothing. It's just a word here. The words don't operate like that. So an etymologist is like, this can't operate like that. It can't be unknown. It came from somewhere. So she went and she looked, and this is what she found out. Every word, when you look, has an etymology, has a root, has an origin, has a language it came from that came into the English. All right. Cannabis is not an exception. And this is where it traces back to. If it doesn't, give me the etymology and break down the word and the meaning for me. And then you can tell me it's wrong. But if you can't do that, you cannot say it's wrong. All right. Give us the meaning of the word. All right. So we're confirming that Calamus is cannabism. All right. And it means sweet Aramaic cane. All right. And this goes back to the cannabis. All right. We're going to go to the book of Adam and Eve. We're at chapter 31 and 1. All right. So this is the first book of Adam and Eve.
This is the first book of Adam and Eve, chapter 31, verse 1. After these things, God said to Adam, you asked me for something from the garden to be comforted therewith, and I have given you these 3 tokens as a consolation to you, that you trust in me and in my covenant with you. For I will come and save you, and kings shall bring me in the flesh gold, incense, and myrrh. Gold as a token of my kingdom, incense as a token of my divinity, and myrrh as a token of my suffering and of my death.
All right. So, and the Most High said unto him, all right, this is the word of the Lord. All right. You asked me something from the garden to be comforted therewith, and I have given you these 3 tokens as a consolation to you. So let's go into the word consolation. Good word for you.
All right, this is out of the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The word consolation. It's a noun, something that makes a person feel less sadness, disappointment, etc. A contest in which people or teams that have previously lost compete against each other. Full definition. The act or an instance of consoling, the state of being consoled, comfort. Example, she found great consolation in all the cards and letters she received. Number 2, something that consoles, specifically a contest held for those who have lost early in the tournament. And synonyms, comforting, consoling, reassurance, solace, solacing.
All right. So consolation. All right. Similar, comfort, solace, sympathy, compassion, pity, relief. Okay. Help, aid, support, moral support, reassurance, encouragement. All right. Soothing, easement, alleviation. All right. To secure. All right. These is what God gave these tokens for. These were things that was going to relieve Adam, alleviate Adam, soothe Adam. All right. Support Adam. Give moral support to Adam. Who's took an incense and then said, you know what, let's slap this guy. I wanted to slap, but this incense is me so chill.
Then you give no example of like the constellations.
What do you mean?
Like a constellation in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
For the that added, like
Example for
No, you're thinking constellation. It was a consolation.
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 Consolation. Yes. Yes.
Fortification.
Mhm. All right. Share, fortification. All right. Sympathy, comfort, solace. All right. So when people are feeling, you're like, well, you shouldn't go to the herb for that. You shouldn't go to these things for that. When they don't understand that God gave Adam something outside. This world has stuff on us. The flesh got all this. Adam was dealing with all of this. People don't understand that it's usually the people who deny the herb the most that need the herb the most. That's why their spirit, whatever's inside them, tell them not to get it because it wants to live in there. It wants to stay there. It wants to tell them, don't take the herb. Don't use the herb because this is what's going to calm you, relax you, bring you around. All right. People wonder why I smoke so much herb because I'm the one. The scriptures tell you I'm the one that's getting a lot. Everyone else's stuff plus my stuff. Moses and the priests and all of them got all the burdens. Guess what? You need relief. You know, I got my burdens, other people's burdens. Everybody's here. All right. I'm the high priest. Okay.
The highest priest.
Okay.
You're the highest in the room?
Yeah, I'm the highest in the room. You can guarantee if you look down, I'm gonna be the highest because I'm first head on with it.
I gotta roll up.
Okay, I'm first head on with it, and this is why he gave it to who? Gave it to those who were the leaders. All right, Moses, Aaron, these are who's handling it, dealing with it, needing it every day. All right, 2 times a day. All right, so the Most High gave these things as a consolation to him, relief. These things were to him. And incense is one of those things. All right, so for someone to tell me, oh, when you're feeling sad or something, you should go to the incense, you can't deal with this real world, and blah, blah, blah. This is someone who's against with the Most High. The Most High gave it to Adam. Adam asked for it. He said, this is consolation. This is what's going to help you in the times, during these whole times. All right. And it says, it's a consolation to you that you trust in me and my covenant with you. So this is given from the Lord, so that you trust in the Lord. All right. And have understanding in it. All right. And understand it's the covenant he gave with you. All right. Every time you feel bad, yo, this thing eases me real quick. That same excitement is attached to something at the end where I'm going to be getting that amplified by 1,000 when the kingdom comes. That feeling that you get when you smoke that herb, that's coming from the kingdom.
You should check out fortification.
Okay. Let's check out fortification.
All right, this is a definition, once again, out of the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. For fortification, it's a noun. The act of building military defenses to protect a place against attack. The act of fortifying something.
All right. So building defense, all right, for a lot of things. Herb. Now, I don't get sick a lot, okay, but I smoke a lot of herb, okay? Because it's building you up as you're thinking, you're smoking. There's no way you can when you're cleansing yourself all the time. It's going to be hard for something to come up on you. All right. If you're part-time in this, it may be possible, or, you know what I mean? But once again, it says it helps you build a fortification, a fence. And this is why he would tell them to use it in the temple and things of that nature. All right. So before we go here, let's go to Exodus 30:7 real quick, just to harper down on the incense. And then we'll go into the early church father who speaks about, and then we'll go from there into the pandemic and all of that now that we're bringing people's mind back around to its understanding.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 30, starting at the 7th verse. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning. When he dresseth the lamps, he shall burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lighted the lamps at even, he shall burn incense upon it. A perpetual incense before the Lord throughout your generations.
All right. So he was instructed to burn it in the morning, burn it in the evening. It will be a perpetual thing unto the Lord throughout all the generations. This is one of the key things he taught in dealing with the temple, all right, which is a representation of our body, which was God was trying to teach man at the time when they're in pureness on how to clean and cleanse things.
This is the Strong's definition for perpetuator, the C word H8548. Tamid, meaning to stretch properly, continuance as indefinite extension. Constant, constantly, regular, daily, always, continual. perpetual, daily, always, ever, perpetual, continued, employment, evermore.
All right. So that's perpetual. All right. Constant. So there it says, all right. So incense and myrrh and gold as a token of my kingdom. So these are tokens of the kingdom. Where'd they come from? The garden. Where are we going back to? Where you want to go back to? The kingdom, the garden. All right. These are tokens that came from there. All right. And it says incense as a token of my divinity. All right. So incense is a token of God's divinity. This represents God's divineness. All right. Let's go into the word divinity. Because there's this evil connotation on smoke and incense and all of this. Why in this world, he said, be careful to call what? Good evil. All right. And now when you see smoke, people are like, that's God. That's not God. That's smoke.
You get the term holy smokes.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
You want to get out of
Yeah.
one is going to
Yeah, the very much. No, I don't think it's.
Merriam-Webster. All right. This is the Merriam-Webster dictionary for divinity. It's a noun, the state of being a god, the state of being divine. A god or goddess, the formal study of religion, religious practices, and religious beliefs.
Yeah. Okay. State of being divine. All right.
And the synonyms would be deity, Godhead.
Just going to divine.
Divine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, this is the one I'm using is out of 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 3, where it says as is divine power. So this is Greek word G 2304, God-like divine Godhead, spoken of the only and true God, Trinity of Christ.
No, give us the thing, but that's going to give us the Greek word. We want the English. We want the English.
You are English.
Yeah, but that's what they put it in here. They're not
Okay. All right, this is out of the Merriam-Webster dictionary. For divine, it's an adjective related to or coming from God. Very good.
All right, meaning very good.
You want a full definition?
Does that have any synonyms or anything?
Yeah.
Hold on.
All right. Beautiful, blue ribbon, Bonnie, brave, classic, choice, excellent, dope as in slang. Yeah, fantastic, fine, first class, first rate, first string, 5-star, 4-star, frontline, grand, great, high class, hot, lovely, marvelous. Yeah.
All right. I'm in the Oxford right here. I just read some of the ones of the Oxford. So it says lovely, handsome, beautiful, good looking, prepossessing, charming, delightful, appealing, engaging, winsome, ravishing, gorgeous. All right, wonderful, excellent, delicious, perfect, superlative, mouth-watering, delectable. All right, heavenly, sensational, stunning, super, great. All right, smashing. All of these things are attached to divine. All right, excellent, delightful. These things, the smoke represents God's, divineness, his perfectness, his heavenliness. All right, when you see that smoke, and it's kind of like, because the smoke, it's invisible. Okay, it comes and then disappears. All right, so but the Most High chose that to represent his divineness. And when people are demonizing it, that's a big thing. All right, so we're going to go into the early church fathers. We went into that. All right, Martin Luther. We went into this, so we had a lesson on that. Whether one may flee from a deadly plague. All right, he sent this to Reverend Dr. Joan Heads, a pastor at Breslau, and to his fellow servants of the gospel of Christ. All right, so this is whether one may flee from a deadly plague by Martin Luther, the early church father. This was the one the Protestant who separated from the Christian church, from the Catholic Church, and separated all the Christians from them through his understanding and doctrine, and took them from dealing with whatever they were dealing with the Catholic Church, and understood that God said to come out of her, my people. And then since then, the Christians have been out of the Catholic Church, and they have a different name from the Catholic. Catholics retain the name Catholic. Christians, they're all Christians, but they just, those names differentiate who's dealing with that church and who's not dealing with the church. All right, so we're here at Martin Luther now in the time of pandemic. All right, whether one may flee, and in this document, he hones in now on cleansing things that to use during the pandemic and his suggestions. All right.
No, my dear friends, that is no good. Use medicine. Take potions which can help you. Fumigate house, yard, and street. Shun persons and places wherever your neighbor does not need your presence or has recovered, and act like a man who wants to help put out the burning city. What else is the epidemic but a fire which, instead of consuming wood and straw, devours life and body? You ought to think this way. Very well, by God's decree, the enemy has sent us poison and deadly afall. Therefore, I shall ask God mercifully to protect us. Then I shall fumigate, help purify the air, administer medicine, and take it.
All right. So this is Martin Luther here instructing what to do in the pandemic. All right. This was a pandemic that happened. Let me get it. It's been a while. Looked at it. What pandemic? It was the bubonic disease or something like that.
Bubonic plague.
The bubonic plague, yes. And that happened in, what's that? I think it said 1520. Hold on. Bubonic plague happened in, it said 1527. Hold on. Let me get bubonic plague. What year was that? Sorry. Martin Luther plague was saying 1527. I think was it that old? I don't know if it was that long ago. Thinking that it probably was.
You're like I found across a time.
Okay.
The 14th century is what I see here.
Before
Plague
the
started
1351.
in the 14th century.
Yeah, it was a time period. See
all right. No, it was in August 1527. All right. In the town of Wittenberg where Martin Luther had. So it was 1527. All right. Around those time. A plague is going on during those time. And Martin Luther there. All right. Suggests that you fumigate. All right. So he said that God's decree, the enemy has sent us poison and deadly offal. All right. Let's go into offal, which I believe is deadly offal.
Let me read it up.
Yeah.
This is the definition out of the Merriam-Webster dictionary for offal. That's O-F-F-A-L. It's a noun, the organs such as the liver or kidney of an animal that are used for food, or full definition, the waste or byproduct of a process. Trimming such as belly, head, and shoulders of a hind. B, the byproducts of milling. C, the viscera and trimmings of a butchered animal. And then 2 is rubbish.
So it sent us poison.
And the synonyms are chaff, deadwood, debris, dreck, dross, dust. junk, litter, garbage, off scourging, raffle, refuse, riffraff, rubbish, scrap, split, trash.
So they sent poison, and they had, I guess, debris and deadly things of that nature coming too. All right. And he said, "Thou shalt ask God mercifully to protect us." So they were asking for protection. All right. Then he says, "Then I shall fumigate and help purify the air." So they understood that fumigation helped purify the air. And we're in a time of pandemic, those times where they don't have modern sciences to say this and that. So this is what they were using. This is what was getting them through these things. All right. And he went right to, "Then I shall fumigate to help purify the air, administer medicine, and take it." We're going to go into the definition of incense.
All right, this is the definition for incense. This is Hebrew word H7004, H004, ketoret, from H6999, a fumigation, sweet incense, perfume.
All right, a fumigation, sweet incense, perfume. But the word there is a fumigation. That's what the word is bringing out to us. All right. So we're going to go to fumigation definition.
All right, this is the definition for fumigate. It's a verb, third person present, fumigates, past tense. Fumigating, apply the fumes of a certain chemicals to an area to disinfect it or to rid it of vermin.
All right, so to apply the fumes of certain chemicals to an area to disinfect it or to rid it of vermin. All right, continue.
Synonyms: disinfect, purify, sterilize, sanitize, decontaminate, cleanse, clean out. Quote, "The prisoners' quarters are fumigated once a month," unquote. And the antonym is soil.
All right, so incense, when you hear incense, you should be thinking disinfectant, purify, sterilize, sanitize, decontaminate, cleanse, clean out. This is the word that we use when we're using the, they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm dealing with incense. That means I'm sanitizing, I'm purifying, I'm this. So when someone's coming to me like, "How much time are you going to purify?" How much time do you mean? How much time am I going to purify? How much time are you not going to purify? Okay. Why aren't you not purifying? Okay. But because now they just replace the word, because that's what they called it before, what the action was. Because what we're trying to describe is what is happening. All right. That's what words come from. We're trying to describe what is happening. That's what words are used. I don't know if people play that game. You know that game where you put the thing on your head? What is it called again? Pictionary. All right. You put the thing on your head, and whatever you're shouting at them, it's not nothing. What you're shouting at them doesn't really matter. You need them to get what you're saying. Okay. The word, who cares about the word? Okay. Forget the word. What's happening here is fumigation, is sterilization. All right. But they went bypass that, and they got now to just what they see with their cars. It's just smoke. You're just smoking. So now there's nothing behind that. To their mind now, because of that word now that's on it, it's just, you're just smoking. You're not, what are you doing? What is smoke? Smoke is just smoke. There's no, what are you doing with the smoke? Nothing is involved in it now. Now incense lets you know what you're doing with the smoke out of that. When you just say I'm smoking, it's just like their mind. Because you have to understand people. These words, everything connect to thoughts, all of that quicker than people could even think. So when you say smoke, their whole conscience and being already took in that all you want is the smoke. There's nothing else going on here. Whereas if they heard incense and their mind understood that, they understand sterilization, all of these other things going on. But now you're just smoking. That's what you're doing. You're smoking. So that's why we take away that. You know, as a church, we don't say we're smoking. Someone gonna ask me what I'm doing. I'm not smoking. I'm dealing with incense. All right, because smoking, you could be smoking anything, and that doesn't mean it's sterilizing something. Okay, that does not mean that. I could burn a paper right now. It's smoking. No, it's not smoking. That's not what I'm doing. What that paper is burning and what it's doing is not what I'm doing. Okay, I'm doing two separate different things. So we have to separate it with the technicality of our words. All right, so it's no longer smoking because this paper could burn right now and it's smoking. All right, and it's not doing what the herb is doing when I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. So that's why the term incense, fumigation, to be clear for people, is being used. All right, but continue in the mid-16th century definition of the origin.
The origin, mid-16th century, earlier late Middle English as fumigation, in the sense, quote, the action of perfuming, unquote, from Latin fumigated, from the verb fumigare, from fumus, smoke.
All right. So fumigation is the word that makes it up, comes from fumus, which is smoke. Smoke is a part of the word fumigate. You can't separate it. So you're gonna be like, oh, maybe it's just some chemicals or this. But when you break down the word fumigation, it goes back to the word from Latin fumus, which is smoke. This is the main thing of sanctification and purification and cleansing. It's smoke. Smoke is a cleansing agent. All right, go to Revelations 15 and 18.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 15, verse 8. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from his power.
All right, so it even shows us, all right, whether it's spiritual, physical, whatever, there will be a representation of smoke filled up in God's temple. All right. And that's from his power, that power you feel, that cannabinoid, that thought, that all of that, that is from the Most High. That was given as consolation and relief to Adam when he was outside of the garden. All right, we're going to go now to Numbers 16 and 14. And we're going to see that there is a plague in the Old Testament. All right. And we're going to see when the plague was in the Old Testament, what did they do when the time of pandemic was? All right. So we're going to go to Numbers 16 and 41.
Numbers chapter 16, starting at the 41st verse. But on the morrow, all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, Ye have killed the people of the Lord. And it came to pass, when the congregation was gathered against Moses and against Aaron, that they looked toward the tabernacle of the congregation, and behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Get you from among this congregation, that I may consume them as in a moment. And they fell upon their faces.
All right. So we see that the Most High is angry with the congregation. All right. He's like, get you up from among this congregation, that I may consume them. All right. As in a moment. All right. Continue for us.
Verse 46. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a censer and put fire therein from off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly unto the congregation, and make an atonement for them. For there is wrath gone out from the Lord. The plague is begun.
All right. So Moses is like, yo, Aaron, go down there, get the censer, get the herbs, get the incense. You know what I mean? Like that. So that. Okay. Fire it up. Because the Most High is mad. It could be used for atonement, because we've seen Adam ask for it outside of the garden for what? To offer it up to the Most High to make an atonement. All right. And then it can be used for purification, because the plague is there at the same time. All right. So they understood the plague is here. Yo, quickly do up the incense, get the smoke going, all of that. All right. Because there's a plague in this air, in the fumes, all of that stuff. And the incense is what's needed. All right. Continue.
Verse 47. And Aaron took as Moses commanded, and ran into the midst of the congregation. And behold, the plague was begun among the people. And he put on incense and made an atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stayed.
All right. So Aaron took Moses' command and ran into the midst of the congregation, and the plague was begun among the people. All right. So he already seen it starting to come among the people. And he put the incense on and made the atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, because the plague is happening now, and all the disease and the bacteria is going everywhere. And guess what he has? He has the smoke, he has all of that, and he's going, and it said it stayed. Eventually, you know, let's go to the word stayed. Let's see what it says. Pretty sure stayed is stayed. Let's see.
What verse is that?
48. 16, 48.
All right, this is the out of the Strongs. This is Strong's number H. This is for the word stayed. H6113, H6113. Asar, as primitive, enclosed by analogy, to hold back, also to maintain, rule, assemble, be able, close up, detain, fast, keep, self-close, still, prevail, recover, refrain, reign, restrain, retain, shut up, slap, stay, stop, withhold, self.
So it recovered, it prevailed. It recovered, all right? It stopped the diseases, all right? It restrained it. Continue.
Yeah, this is
Okay, all right. It stopped it. It did all of that. All right. So we know that it stopped it. The incense restrained it. The plague was restrained and stayed. All right. With fumigation. Not with sanitizer. Not with not with alcohol. You say, yo, go get the alcohol.
Wear no masks.
Go get the alcohol quick. Alcohol up the place.
Social distancing.
Alcohol up the place and quick. All right.
Go in the midst of them too.
And go in the midst of them. All right. Which if you have a disease, you have to social distancing is in the Bible. All right. Because when there was plagues and stuff, God told them to separation. You know what I mean? The woman had to go do that. So it's social distance. This is all stuff from the Bible. It is just now. Are they telling the truth? Are they telling the this? But the Most High always says, just follow the thing. There's nothing wrong with us. You know, if now they're compromising your health now. That's where, you know, we come into play now. And this is what we're seeing. All right. So aiming people with this understanding so that they can understand religious rights, things of that nature. This is a religious practice. You know, you fumigate yourself. I already came in the store. I'm already herbed up. I'm already all of these things. All right. We have to start understanding this. Most High says, prove all things. If you want to prove something, have it on you. You want to go outside and just talk to them and tell them? Print it out. We're in modern day time. Print it out on the paper for them. Go here. Take it. Give it to them too. Yeah. Paper costs how much? You can get a big stack of paper. Print out whatever you need, take it around. People don't understand, so you need to show them with their, you know, with our understanding. Yes. Yes.
So it's like you have no excuse now.
Yeah. So we got to start printing on it. We're going to start, you know, assembling things and assembling our own things and showing them, yay, when you go to a place, here, flash this on somebody, give this to somebody, show them your practice, show them the this, because you know, they don't know about our religious practice, and we don't expect them to be like, oh, you mean you come in here? You know, you can't expect them to know that. All right. There's no way they're going to know that. Yo, I'm already sealed up, bro. I know what you're talking about. I don't deal with that stuff. This is what God said here. Here's the scripture here. Here's a couple things here so they can see with their eyes. That's it.
Nonprofit I work with, we're typing up rights and like statutes.
Mm-hmm.
So we could probably get
Mm-hmm.
some of them here to pass up too. And then put cannabis in it.
Mm-hmm.
As well.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we see that.
okay. 2 more verses.
All right. We got 2 more verses.
All right, this is continuing in the book of Numbers, continue at the 49th verse. Now they that died in the plague were 14,700, beside them that died about the matter of Korah. And Aaron returned unto Moses unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed.
All right. So what we're seeing here is, first of all, when a plague's happening, God's angry. Secondly, you should be atoning. Thirdly, there should be some incense and herbal smoke going on. So they're saying there's a plague out here to do it. We're not seeing it outside, okay, to let us know who's controlling the narrative in the situation here. Can't be Christians, okay? Or if they are Christians, they don't understand what's happening because we haven't seen any example of these Christian principles here. And we're going into early Christians who are using this.
People are smoking, but they're not knowing.
Yeah, they're not knowing, they're not attaching.
You don't attach to that.
All right. So we're going to go into the history of disinfection from early times until the 18th century. And this is by J. Blanco. All right. And to give us a complete summary. And this is, I think I did put the PDF thing link into it. This is a complete study on different types of ways they were disinfecting. All right. And we're just holding down on one of the ways that they have in this document, which was fumigation. All right. But there's other things that they had inside of here as well. All right. Water and this, there's different ones. But I took the section that's dealing with fumigation. All right. There's actually also, and let me make a point of it, a section in there that said dealing with sulfur. All right. I'm like, oh, look at that. Why did God, send down the sulfur on thing? But it said that sulfur is a big cleansing agent. Okay.
All the showers smell like sulfur. Water smells like rotten eggs. Sulfur.
Fire and brimstone.
Fire and brimstone to what? Clean up Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. All right. Now, when the Most High sends the next fire, now there's probably seeds and stuff there that could spark back up and come back up now. But he hasn't sent fire back there since. Okay. So All right, so that part is inside there too, but we're honing in now on the fumigation part. So the sulfur part, stood out to me because I'm like, sulfur, you use that for Sodom and Gomorrah. Now we see in here that it says sulfur is a major cleansing agent used for these things as well. All right.
History of disinfection from early times until the end of the 18th century. J. Blanco, summary. The author describes and analyzes the methods of disinfection in use until the end of the 18th century. Example, before the scientific demonstration of the role of pathogenic microorganisms. These methods are classified into 3 categories. Chemicals, by derivatives of sulfur, mercury, copper, and also by alkalis and acids, physical, heating, fumigation, filtration, and biological, burial. The author concludes that despite their empiricism, these methods were of great value to those responsible for controlling diseases of animals, as in some cases, they were able to eradicate diseases while still ignorant of the causal mechanisms. Disinfection by fumigation. Fumigation has been used since ancient times to, quote, purify the air, unquote, perhaps due to the observation that smoke chased away insects, which were always suspected of causing human and animal disease. In the year 429 BC, fumigation was recommended by Hippocrates for controlling an epidemic which affected animals and humans in Athens. The method consisted of burning odoriferous herbs in streets of the city and was credited with halting the epidemic.
All right, so shows us here, all right, that fumigation has been used since ancient times to purify the air. All right, perhaps due to the observation that smoke chase away insects. So remember, the Most High put everything, going back to Romans 1:19, everything in our physical is a representation of the unseen. All right, so if it's chasing away these bugs and things that you don't like, what else is going to chase away? Your demons and these things, and you see what Solomon said they look like and
He
stuff.
constructed the fly in my room, man.
Okay.
Multiple flies, they were
Yeah.
gone, man. No windows, no doors, nothing. They were gone.
It's still there in the islands, it's still there.
Yeah, thank God, bro.
Go and put it in.
Just went up, cleaned nothing.
I don't know what they use.
It was seven flies.
Yeah, I remember when you
Yeah,
guys
dang it.
And so we're outside. We're by the fire. We're like, what? Light the fire up and this and that. But you know what we're doing? Some people we're not understanding. We're lighting the thing fire up, right? We're not saying, go get some herbs and light up a fire and do that. We're just lighting a wood fire, or, using the thing fire. Or with the pieces of wood, that's not necessarily gonna take the bugs away.
Next summer we're making
You get what I'm saying? Because once again, we're not understanding what's going on. We're just using a piece of wood. Doesn't necessarily that fire from the wood's gonna take away the bugs. It's the herb smoke. Yes. All right. So it's the herb smoke that's gonna take away the bug and the insect. All right, which were always suspected of causing human diseases and animals. All right. So this is the year 429 BC, fumigation was recommended by the Hippocrates for controlling an epidemic which affected animals and humans in Athens. So 429 BC, fumigation was what they're controlling these things with, all right? Diseases that are coming from animals and humans. Fumigation was used, all right? Herbal smoke. All right, I'm starting again from the method. All right.
The method consisted of burning odoriferous herbs in streets of the city and was credited with halting the epidemic.
All right. So the method consisted of burning odoriferous mass for fragrant herbs from paradise. All right. That's what they burnt up in the temple. All right. And this was credited with halting the epidemic. All right. So we know that this is not just them thinking and, getting this. God directed the people from a long time ago and showed them this was the way to clean his temple back then. Not to say they can't improve in doing that, but this way definitely works because God showed it. All right. Continue for us.
This means of purifying the air, also useful for disinfecting objects, clothing, etc., was recommended by Vegetius in the 5th century AD for use against morbus aliens. In the same century by Heracles for use against Malleus. in 1711 by Ramanzini, in 1715 by Lancisi, and in 1721 by the Pursuians for use against cattle plague.
All right, so they're showing you all the different instances fumigation was used. 5th century for use against the morbus. All right, the same century by Hercules for use against Malleus. All right, 1711, 1715, 1721 for use against cattle plague. All right, incense been known for, and fumigation been known for taking out diseases. All right, continue.
During an outbreak of cattle plague at Montpellier in 1745, the medical faculty recommended fumigation of cowsheds with juniper wood and vinegar vapor.
All right, so they use juniper wood and vinegar vapor for that. Now they're using different methods in this, but these are people who probably didn't not attach into the Bible, but God gave us the best mixture. They're trying to use other mixtures in this, but God showed us what was the strongest one, and pointed out to us these things. But you could use many things, many herbs for fumigation, and this is what they're figuring out. All right, so they're using fumigation cowsheds with juniper wood, vinegar vapor, all of these things that they realize, yo, this is helping, this purifies the air. All right, continue.
In 1752, during the epidemic of cattle plague in England, Lanyard recommended the fumigation of stables using the following mixture: wet gunpowder, pitch, tar, brimstone, tobacco, frankincense, juniper, and bay berries should be burnt and the smoke confined in these stables more than once. The fumigation of kennels contaminated by rabid dogs was also recommended in France, then in England by Jenner towards the end of the 18th century.
All right, so here we see in 1752, during the epidemic of cattle plague, which they also call contagious distemper, all right, they recommended a fumigation mix. All right, wet gunpowder, pitch, tar, there's the brimstone, okay, tobacco, all right, another cleanser. A lot of people don't understand about, they're using the, all right, frankincense, juniper, bayberries. This is what they all put together to burn, to contain down a pandemic that was happening these times. All right, we're not seeing not one of these news people or anybody suggest not one of these things, or even in an area, because in an area and that's why these things constantly have to be used, and because in an area you can't keep the sanitizer here and make it go around the room and smell the room and be smelling it constantly. All right, but you could have in the room herb burning and the smoke going on. People have incense burning all the time in the rooms. So a place is telling us they can't close down the door because they have to make sure enough air thing is coming in here because this pandemic is going on. That's what happened when we went to eat the other day. And if they just had incense burning a couple of the places, which people have a lot of time, you're perfectly fine. Everyone in the place is fine. You don't need no mask, nothing, because the same air you're breathing is being purified at the same time.
Maybe that's why when you go in those Chinese places, you always have those so-called incense burning.
Well, I know they have that mostly for their gods.
I know, I'm just saying. I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
I don't think they have the understanding of it, but they do have it there. They know it's for something that the gods want. They don't know what. Yeah, they know the gods like it. Then they like that. He likes it. He bring me a lot of people to the store. That's what it does. I went into one store. They're like, yeah, I got the ass facing that way of the elephant because it protect no criminal, nothing to come in here, and it bring customer. I'm like, okay. He lines it up right with the door. Like the axe is right looking at the door. The ass of the door is right, together. All right, so we're seeing that we are using these fumigation mixes back then. All right, and they had a next one that they used for fumigation of kennels contaminated by rabid dogs. All right, and now we're gonna go into the next part here. Continue? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Chabert in 1774 also recommended using fumigation in the control of anthrax.
Oh, we know that one. So even anthrax, it helps. All right, we all know that one back in the
9/11.
Okay.
9/11.
Anthrax fumigation, get rid of anthrax too. Continue.
In 1805, Hazard recommended an alternative recipe for use against the same disease, which consisted of burning a good pinch of a mixture of gunpowder, common salt, and crushed juniper berries with laurel wood.
All right, laurel wood. Let me see what this material is in the gunpowder. This is being used a lot. What plant is that coming from?
The recipe to CDC.
Yeah, don't throw it in the garbage.
I
They want numbers.
Oh, there you go. Makes sense now. All right. Sulfur. Sulfur. Yes. Sulfur, charcoal, and potassium nitrate. The sulfur and charcoal act as fuels, while the saltpeter is the oxidizer. All right. So there's sulfur in it. I'm like, let me look at this gun. Why is gunpowder keep, you know what I mean? But there it is, sulfur.
They don't
In
mention
the gunpowder.
sage. Sage like gets rid of almost
Get
all of
crazy.
the bacteria in there.
Well, this is more so in Europe, so it depends on where you are. Sage would be coming more so from
Yeah.
this side, the
Access to
native
different-
Indians. Yeah.
Plants and shit.
All right, so a good pinch of gunpowder, common salt, crushed juniper berries, laurel wood. That took out pandemic. Okay, pandemic gone because they understood what cleansing agents are. These things are cleansing agents. All right, and we have to get back to that understanding. So we just went through a thing that this is from 1800s. This is leading up to we didn't go further past 1800. This is all old history coming up. All right. Before all the programming and indoctrination that's going on with people. All right, and the use of these other things, which, okay, let's say they did come out with sanitizer and those things work. It still does not purify the air while we're sitting here and talking.
Because antibacteria, you're killing
Yes.
your good and bad bacteria.
Yes.
So now you ain't got no bacteria to
Yes.
fight the virus,
Yeah,
right?
so it's good to use it for a one time like this, but it's not something to live off of.
And when
Right.
you fear, you're killing yourself with it.
All right. So we're going to go now to a next document now. All right. So this is the section of the history of medicine by President Dr. Norman Moore. This is from March 15, 1916. All right. And yeah.
All right. The section of the history of medicine, President Dr. Norman Moore, March 15, 1916. Some plague tractates, 14th and 15th centuries, by Dorothea Whaley Singer. C. Disinfection. Our author turns next to the rules for the practice of disinfection, as we may call it. Well,
Oh no, a word is messed up here. Hold on.
I can read that.
Okay.
That part there?
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
In cold or misty weather, he bids us shut the windows and purify the air within by means of fires or juniper branches, so that the heat and smoke may pervade the room.
All right. So look at this. All right. They were at a part in here from disinfection. I just went and, took a part in here, but it's talking about disinfection. And it says the author turns next to the rules for a practice of disinfection, as we may call it. All right. And it says to shut the windows and purify the air within by means of fires of juniper branches. So that-
in the cold weather,
Mhm.
specifically to so
Mhm.
now this weather is
Mhm,
changing, and this
mhm.
weather for this pandemic is gonna get higher when we keep.
Mhm.
So I guess
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's what they're saying. So we should take note of this too. Cold air is coming, cold times coming. Now it's time to incense up. If it's any time to incense up, it's incense up now. Burn your sage, burn your things, burn all of that. As you see other people doing it. Now when people come to the place and or a place, they be like, oh, come see you burning all of this. How are you doing that? Now you show them this is what was really for, you know what I mean?
So when we're coming here, we should be burning this.
Yep. We can now bring some stuff now too. Put some sage and bring in here and, you know what I mean? Hurry it up. And just to have our things as the examples here. All right. And stay away from, their things. We're trying to bring our understanding back full circle. All right. So continue.
Or better still, a powder for which the recipe is given should be scattered on live coals as a deodorizer, and the resulting smoke inhaled through mouth and nostrils.
All right. So hold on here. He's telling you here. Hold on. Okay. If I'm correct, right? All right. We're talking about juniper. We ain't talking about cannabis, nothing. All right. Juniper, they're saying. Okay. And the branches and all of these things. Okay. Should be scattered on the live coals as a deodorizer. And then the resulting smoke inhaled through what? the mouth and the nostrils. Okay, this is cleansing.
We got your mask on.
Okay, you got your mask on. All right, continue for us.
The doctrine of Neesma implied by this procedure has had a long history as an. So let me read this again. The doctrine of Neesma implied by this procedure has had as long a history as any in medicine.
Okay, so this thing has had a longest history of anything in medicine. So if you're talking about me smoking, this been here in medicine as long as medicine been here. Because Adam got the incense right away. So of course it's gonna be here as long as that.
You know, those doctors that have the big back day countries that the big
Like,
beak noses.
Okay, yeah.
What would they put in those beak noses? Herbs,
Oh yeah, okay.
I
flowers.
didn't
That's
know
what
that.
I had.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
My dad don't know.
Yeah. So inside they would stuff it with herbs,
Mhm.
like different things, and they would breathe in when you're dealing with plagues.
They have
Okay.
those masks right now for sale on Amazon.
Mhm.
$50.
Mhm.
I was gonna buy one. Just
What is it called? What is it?
And I'll show
go
you.
long
Yeah, I know it's not like a
Plague mask.
Okay, a plague mask. Okay. That's interesting. And you put the herb inside of there, at least instead of these people tell you just put mask on, nothing under there, sweat coming on you.
All wet, perfect breeding ground for viruses.
You can see it. Look like a bird, right? Like bird mask. It's like a thing, right? It's like a thing. I see it.
Put on the camera.
Yeah, let me see if I can get it.
Black plague, right? That's for the black plague, right?
So you gotta
Okay.
put that the camera behind.
Oh, yeah. Put it up. Put it up to that one. There.
Yeah. So in that mask, they would hold herbs and different things that would protect them against the disease. That's why they would wear those
I
masks.
think that's even on the Martin Luther thing, you know. That's where I seen that picture. I just didn't even know that I'm like, why is he wearing a mask like that? I didn't understand why, but now he's figuring it out. I did not know herb was inside that.
Herb and flowers.
Okay, that makes sense now. All right, so they'd wear a mask, and their mask had herbs in it. Okay, where's your mask with the herbs in it? Where's your pandemic mask? This ain't no pandemic mask.
This mask is setting you up for sleep.
Oh yeah, this mask is setting you up. There's no.
Your body to be sure.
All right, so our masks that we deal with got herbs in it. All right, so maybe if you're feeling the way now and you want a thing, most I showed us a little thing. You can tweak it a little. Put some herb in your mask. If you're feeling a different way, we know it's not at least causing you harm as thing because they were using masks and they put herb in it instead. All right, for the airways and the different things.
I'm gonna get one of those masks.
Mhm.
Right on the bus.
Yeah, hey brother, we'll give you the documents. Yeah. Freedom of religion, brother. Freedom of religion, brother. All right, so we have our first pandemic mask there. All right, filled with herbs. Okay. All right, you would never know it.
Go to Plague Doctor and Wikipedia and read it out.
Okay. Put the link in the chat if you can. Just drop it in the line chat. Copy it and put it in the line chat. All right. So this tells back that once again, that the putting the herbs and stuff on the coals as a deodorizer and smoke being inhaled through the mouth and nostrils is old as any other medical practice. All right, in the history of medicine. All right. So when people are like, "Oh, you're putting that in your mouth and your dick," these are natural things that's always been here. All right. And we're honing down on these things. You put it in the chat? Mhm. All right. So pandemic mask. We get into the real nitty gritty. Looks like there's going to be a part 2 of this. So tell me about most of this. Yeah, we don't have that much time.
All the masks from like slavery time. They used to introduce their masks.
Yeah, we're wrapping up this thing. Yeah, just reading this last thing.
Finish reading this piece photo.
All right. Did you put it in there?
Yeah.
Okay. No, go and get us where you put it there. The plague mask. Oh. Yeah.
All right, plague. This is off of Wikipedia, Plague Doctor. A plague doctor was a physician who treated victims of the bubonic plague. In times of epidemics, these physicians were specifically hired by towns where the plague had taken hold. Since the city was paying their salary, they treated everyone, wealthy or poor. However, some plague doctors were known to charge patients and their families additional fees for specific treatments or false cures. Typically, they were not experienced physicians or surgeons at all. Rather, they were often either second-rate doctors unable to otherwise run a successful medical practice, or young physicians seeking to establish themselves in the industry. They rarely cured their patients. Rather, they served to record a count of the number of people contaminated for demographic purposes. Plague doctors, by their covenant, treated plague patients and were known as municipal or community plague doctors, whereas general practitioners were separated doctors, and both might be in the same European city or town at the same time. In France and the Netherlands, plague doctors often lacked medical training and were referred to as empirics. In one case, a plague doctor had been a fruit salesman before his employment as a physician. In the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, some doctors wore a beak-like mask that was filled with aromatic items. The masks were designed to protect them from putrid air, which, according to the now obsolete miasmatic theory of disease, was seen as the cause of infection. The design of these clothes had been attributed to Charles de Lorme, the chief physician to Louis the 13th. If you want to get to the nose part, okay, here we put here. This is the mask right here. Some plague doctors wore a special costume. The garments were invented by Charles de Lorme in 1630 and were first used in Naples, but later spread to be used throughout Europe. The protective suit consisted of a light waxed fabric overcoat, a mask with eyeglass openings, and a beak-shaped nose, typically stuffed with herbs, straw, and spices. Plague doctors would also commonly carry a cane to examine and direct patients without the need to make direct contact with them. The scented materials included juniper berry, ambergris, roses, rosa, mint leaves, camphor, cloves, labadum, myrrh, and storax. Due to the primitive understanding of disease at the time, it was believed this suit would sufficiently protect the doctor from misdemeanor while tending to patients.
All right. So we see there, we're holding out that they are using aromatic herbs in the masks and things of that nature. All right. So to relieve and get things out. Now we're going to go into these things because a lot of things is coming out where, you know, they're replacing theories with other theories and germ disease and all this, but this is what they understood. And we know this can be true because the Most High instructed it. All right. So for them to say that it doesn't work or it doesn't think when the Most High did this for his temple in the beginning. All right. So this method had to be efficient, especially when we're dealing with cleansing God's temple. All right. So we're going to go back to the document now. And we're gonna finish up. We're gonna finish up that thing. You can just go back to C and read Disinfectant and start back from there and just read it through.
Okay, the disinfection part, right?
Yeah.
So once again, this is by Dorothy Whaley Singer. Disinfection. Our author turns next to rules for the practice of disinfection, as we may call it. In cold, misty weather, he bids us shut the windows and purify the air within by means of fires of juniper branches, so that the heat and smoke may pervade the room. Or better still, a powder for which the recipe is given should be scattered on live coals as a deodorizer, and the resulting smoke inhaled through mouth and nostrils. The doctrine of miasma implied by this procedure has had as long a history as any in medicine. It may be traced back through Hippocrates to the magic and folk medicine of primitive peoples, and it has come through the dark and Middle Ages right down to our own time, when old wives still imagine that the sick room is rendered more healthy by the burning of disinfectant ribbons. The conception probably reached medieval Europe through Constantine. The allusions, the classical writings to the use of fire to extinguish plague can hardly have been available to John of Burgundy. Thucydides, however, whose works were unknown in the Middle Ages, is quoted on the subject by Galen, and in one of the anonymous tracts of the Great Salarian Codex at Breslau, fires are recommended in houses in damp or marshy positions, while the Flos Medicinae contains a specific warning against bad air in the neighborhood of drains. Drugs. But disinfection of the air was not enough. The pores of the skin were regarded by most medieval writers as the main channel of entry of the pestilential poison.
All right, and this is what it seems like I'm going out, that they're going away from understanding where diseases come from. That's what's coming out with these new understandings of these new processes. All right, back then they understood the main gateway for the disease. You're talking about covering your mouth, covering your this. It's your pores. All right, how you gonna cover that up?
And the antibacterial opens up your pores, makes it bigger.
All right, how you covering that up? All right, this is why they understood you need the herb and stuff, because mask's not covering up your pores. Okay, things seep through these things. These are airway channels. These are breathing waves. All right, when your pores is clogged, what do they say? Your pores is clogged. No, nothing can go in there. There's no airway. There's no nothing going in there. All right, so they understood that the pores was the major part where airway didn't think it come through, was your pores. All right, they understood this, being that it's your body's biggest organ. All right, continue.
It is therefore necessary to take internal disinfectants to destroy any virulent vapors that had penetrated into the body and are now perhaps circulating the humors.
All right, so this is why they dealt with the incense, because guess what? In your body, you don't know, things are seeping through your skin and all of that. How can you catch that? How can you get that? God told us how. Through the purification, through the fumigation. All right, fumigation, the smoke is now all through your body, catching everywhere where it's at. All right, as we seen in that word, it had set up what? A fortification. All right, set up a fort in the body so that these things cannot come within. All right, so we got to get back to understanding disease and how they operate and our body, how it operates. All right, that people are covering up masks, but they're leaving all of here exposed. All right, it doesn't make any sense. And that's how we know it's not our God and our people controlling these times, because understanding is not out there. All right, I'm gonna continue.
For this purpose, aromatic remedies should be taken internally.
All right, so it says it has to be taken internally. Internally, not externally. Aromatic things need to be taken internally. Okay? We're seeing this before we understand organ or anything. We're just seeing, the Most High said this in the Bible. If he said it and they're using it as incense for the temple, how can it be evil? We don't need to see none of this evidence. I didn't need to see this because, when God says something and he's using it for cleansing and it's the temple, what else do I need to see? Okay, the reason I'm going into this stuff because there's a lot of people and a lot of spectators and everybody of the world don't understand it, all right? And they don't see, they need it to be written down exactly that you can smoke this, put it in your mouth, all of that. Can you not see God said clean the temple with it? With smoke. If there's anything bad, if there's even an ounce of badness, you can't use it because there's children. There's all type of people coming inside of the temple. All right? It cannot be harmful. And it's smoke. Smoke in a room, fumigating. We have to go into our mind there. If he's smoking out the place, there's a lot of smoke there. How are you escaping this? And now everyone's secondhand smoke. He's giving everybody cancer in the lungs and all of that stuff. It cannot be. All right. But here we have it going through the historical stuff that inhaling is what's curing you, because one of the major things is disease seeps through your pores, through the air. All right. And they suggest taking it internally. All right. Taking aromatic remedies. This is what Adam asked for, fragrant herbs out of the garden. aromatic herbs. All right.
Fortifying.
Fortify him, console him. All right. So go back to for this purpose.
For this purpose, aromatic remedies should be taken internally, and a large number of these are suggested. It is good thing to carry in the handa pomat ambre, that is, a mass of aromatic drugs made up with resin or amber.
All right. So it says, this is what it says. They're telling you it's a good thing to keep on you resins, hashish, different things to burn, myrrh, all different. That's not the only type of resins. There's different type of resins. All right. But those resins as well. All right. This is the thing. It says it's good. It is a good thing. It is a good thing to carry resins on you to burn. All right. Or amber, which we could go into showing what these things are. All right. But continue first.
All these measures are commonplaces of a medieval plague literature and must have proved the source of enormous profits to the apothecaries.
All right. So all these measures are commonplaces of medieval plague literature and must have proved the source of enormous profits to the apothecary. They had to have worked for them to go from all these centuries leading up on down, even up into recent times.
That's right. And if it was not good, it would have dropped off
A long time ago. All right. So we're gonna leave it there. All right, for this week. All right, with the herbs. All right, the incense, the fumigation, the cleansing, the sterilization. All right, internally of the body. All right, because your biggest organ, which is your pores, people don't understand the airwaves, all of that. It seeps through your pores and all of that. So external cleansing is needed. All right, just like how we have the windows open, things fly through there. Once it flies through there, it's a window.
Right?
This is why, once again, the Most High says why it would be for you to take a colder shower, because when you're in a warm one, you're opening up the window. Now, just make sense. Your body is a vehicle. When you're washing the car, you have to close the window.
Makes sense.
Okay? You got to close the window. You have to keep it closed. So they say that opening up the pores, you're now, whatever was on you, dirt, whatever, all of that is seeping back through the pores now. You're opening back up the pores. All right? Instead of being able to close it and just you're dealing with the exterior and you're washing it off. All right? So we have to understand how our body operates, all right? It is a window. These are windows, and once a window's open, it's telling you air could come through. It's just common sense. All right, so we went through a bunch of things to show you that, incense, which is known as fumigation, all right, which is known as purification by smoke, was given or asked for by Adam outside of the garden, all right? He asked for 4 types. All right. There was the saffron, which was an example of a herb. There was the essential oil type. All right. Then there was the cannabis, which they call Calamus in there, which in the Hebrew is cannabism. All right. Which goes back to the word cannabis. All right. And then there was the cinnamon, using spices and things as well. Those are 4 different types and various ways to use this. All right. And that the Most High gave this as consolation, alleviation, fortification, relief to Adam, all right? And that they are direct token of his divinity, his divineness, his excellence, his perfectness. Smoke represents that. Herbal smoke represents that, all right? And to demonize that is very wicked, all right? And not only that, but during pandemic times and deadly plagues, when the times was real deadly, they've used these things and it always worked from the Old Testament up until recent times. All right. And as much as these other things, sanitizers can help you a little time, because sometimes you can't use it. You might need a sanitizer here and there, but to use it all the time now and to have it in the airway and all of that, you can't stop these things that are happening constantly. Herb is always going to be the best way to stop that. All right. We could be in a room right now and the herb is going. We can't go and continue disinfecting and this. When you disinfect, you got to clear your room out because all the fumes and stuff is in there. The stuff that they're using. Those disinfecting, the man-made ones, you cannot go and smell that and have all of that with that. It can't go up in your nose and things like that. You got to clear out the room real quick. and then come back. Not with the incense. All right. We could all be here and it do its thing while we're here because it's not harming us, it's cleansing at the same time. All right. Oh, someone asked that Isaiah 113. That's a good question. Go to Isaiah 113. But Isaiah 113, when it's talking about the incense, it was talking about that because of how they were dealing with it, he doesn't want it. So if you're coming with incense from impurity, from a heart or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, the Most High is going to look at it a certain way. And that's what it's saying there. But go to
That's the book. This is the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 13. Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting.
all right. So if we go read up to the beginning, that's Isaiah 1, 2, you'll see that how they were bringing it, all right. And they were acting like Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. Yeah.
This is verse 10 of the same book, the prophet Isaiah, chapter 1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of your God, ye people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? I am full of the burnt offering of rams and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks, nor of lambs, or of he-goats. When ye come to appear before me, who had required this at your hand to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations.
All right. So this is what he was speaking about. So he's all of that before you reach the incense.
In vain. Meaning you're doing it, but you don't really mean it. Because you're going to go right back to what you were doing before.
All right. And he explained this in Hebrews 10, all right, where he breaks that down, that what they were doing, constantly bringing up and the giving up, and all that was vain. This was an attack on incense. They were attaching the incense with it and thinking, they could purify and everything with it. He's like, oh, that which was clean to me and a consolation to me. The way you're using it now it's abomination now to me. All right. Not that the incense is an abomination.
You're doing wickedness and doing.
Mm-hmm. So we have the other things where he said the Gentiles, everyone, they're going to offer up incense in my name. All right. So it's really the way Israel was dealing with it.
Really, just going to look at 1 and 13 or anywhere like that, you'd have to start at the beginning of Isaiah 1 to see that he's already shown you that you guys are going on the wrong way. You guys are going the wrong way. So when it gets to this point, it's not being used in the right way. So you can't attach
Context.
All right. Yeah. So with that being said, we went through the understanding. This is part 1. There's gonna have to be a part 2. With pandemic diseases. All right. Fumigation, incense, herbs as a disinfectant. All right. We're gonna go to Philippians 4 and 8.
All right. This is the book of Philippians, chapter 4, starting at the 8th verse. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest.
All right. Go back and read it again.
Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true.
All right. So whatsoever things are true. We went through it. We've seen a lot of true things.
Whatsoever things are honest.
All right. We went through it. We've seen a lot of honest things. Honestly, I've been looking on that from BC, before Adam, coming up till now. We have documentation of this thing working. All right. Continue.
Whatsoever things are just.
Just. God said to use it. God said to deal with it. God gave it to Adam. He said it's consolation. He said it's a token of divinity. Not us wanting to go into our own sinful nature. All right, continue.
Whatsoever things are pure.
Cleansing, fumigation, sterilization. Okay, this is pure. There's nothing more pure than incense and the holy smoke. All right, that he used to deal with the temple. All right, continue.
Whatsoever things are lovely.
All right, lovely. All right, and we can go into this week, next week. All right, that this is known as the liberated. Consolation, console. Relief. Elevation. Alleviate. Sorry.
Whatsoever things are of good report.
We just went through a lot of reports.
From various sources.
All around, different centuries, different decades. Which one you want to use?
Before the weed was popular.
Before weed's popular, 1936, etymologists going to all around these other places. All right, continue.
If there be any virtue and if there be any praise.
If there be any.
Think on these things.
All right.
Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do.
All right, you see me smoke the incense.
Call it out.
Please do. Okay, please do. Follow my lead.
Got sticky icky.
All right.
And the God of peace shall be with you.
All right, and the Most High shall be with us. With that being said, all praises be unto the Most High Almighty, Yeshua, our Lord and Savior, my brother Shamar.
Brother Arad.
All right, and brought you today's report. All right. So with that being said, hope y'all got understanding on the incense, more thing with the pandemic. We went through a little things, a little refresher. You know, we're getting back in the vibration of coming and doing the lessons. And it's good to, you know what I mean, be with everybody and go through it. So, you know, just the restart back. So, you know, these 2 weeks, we've got a lot of understanding on herbs and fire in 2 different ways. All right.
Can't have the herb without the fire.
All right. Can't have the herb without the fire. All right. Used for germination and growing and used for cleansing. All right, herb and fire.
Fumigation.
So, yeah, anyone, any questions, anything? Swing them by. No, we're not gonna be on here. We're not gonna be on here long. We do have.
That's what we get to overstand. We have to understand. We get to overstand.
All right. Once again, anybody watching not been with us, can join us. All right. Administration at EssingCommunityChurchOfChrist.org. You can email us. Yeah. Yes, yes.
Are you going? No. You want email? Last name was it? I remember that. Oh man, everybody was tired.
There's a diagram on the wall.
It was fun, bro. It was fun. I haven't had that much fun in a long time.
Did it?
Yeah, it was your jokes.
I was helping this guy with stuff.
Nobody else. So let's just get up.
No, we're still on the line. Don't go on the drum.
You know, a minute. We'll give you 30 more seconds. 1 more minute. All right. Speak now, or forever hold your peace.
All right,
Or until next week. Yeah. Or until, or ask it in the chat.
Yeah, let's not play with their stuff.
Yeah, that's not
Please.
They're already looking for a way to label what's up.
We don't have access.
You guys, musical chairs.
All right. With that being said, you got 30 more seconds.
Yeah, 30 more seconds for you to stream my music on Apple Music. I make music. All right.
You know, just bring
Shalom to everyone.